Thank you. That coat is one for the basket. Mayong Udto, good afternoon. It's never complete, a time with the Filipino without music. So, again, not that I am reducing my talking time, but can we stand up? And some of you already know the unofficial CSOP song, and if you don't, I'm sure you can just follow. So it starts with CSOP is a wonderful place filled with glory and grace. I want to see these builders here. CSOP is a wonderful place. I want to go there. CSOP is a wonderful place filled with glory and grace. I want to see these builders here. CSOP is a wonderful place. I want to go there. CSOP is a wonderful place filled with glory and grace. I want to see these builders here. CSOP is a wonderful place. I want to go there. Thank you. I am so full. My prayer is I will make sense. and I'm wired. I had some tea. But I was told that the only way really to share the complexity of life and the world is really the joy of telling stories. I will borrow, though, a chant that my friend Babo Ayindo from Kenya does just to get us connected, because peace building is so relational. You can feel it. So if I say bumalaka boom, you say chingalaka ching. Bumalaka boom! Chingalaka ching! Chingalaka ching! Bumalaka boom! Bumalaka boom, boom, boom! Chingalaka ching, ching, ching! Chingalaka ching, ching, ching! Bumalaka boom, boom, boom! Excellent. I love it. In our culture, there is a story that is one of our favorites, which tells about the creation of the 7,100 islands of the Philippines. A little more during low tide, a little less during high tide. But in this story, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Once upon a time, there was just the sky and the water. And in between was a lone bird that flew without any land to perch on. So it flew and got tired. And the bird decided to create some conflict. So it went into the sky and said, "Sky, light, do you know that the water said nasty things about you?" And the sky said, "Whoa!" And then the bird went into the water and just said, "Water, karagatan, do you know that the sky is saying despicable things about you? Bumalaka boom! Bumalaka ching ching ching! And the water got so upset, it started to rise into some form of tsunami. And then the sky also decided, this is war. And so the sky started pelting out some of its clouds and rocks, and the water lashed out, while the bird looked and started to see that something was forming out of this conflict. Because soon, with all this return of back and forth with the pelting of the waves and the rocks, suddenly emerged land formations that formed the 7,100 islands. So the bird, content with the result of this conflict, finally had a place to perch. It reminds me that one of the main themes that draws the conflict is really the need for land. It's a recurring theme that continues to build on our historical evolution as a people. But the story does not end there. The bird finally had a place to perch. And from the land formations grew the kawayan, the bamboo. And so the bird started pecking on the bamboo. And the kawayan started to break. And the legend says that boom-a-laka boom, ching-a-laka ching ching ching. Out of these bamboo came the first man and the first woman at the same time. A little different from some of our narratives, but from the first woman and man came the Filipino race of different identities. But from the kawayan, something else was produced that would shape who we are as a people. An ancient syllabary called Baybayin, or Alibata, is almost like a pictograph. One sign or symbol is called Ka. Ka is derived as a pictograph of the katig, which is the bamboo outriggers in a boat, oftentimes made out of bamboo. So a boat is the hull, and then there are outriggers that combine. It is about balance. It is about a relationship. Now, a lot of words in the Filipino language begin with ka. Kapatid is brother or sister. Kaulayang, someone you are feeling passionate for. Kaibigan is a friend. Kabiyak is a spouse. Kaaway is enemy. And all of these form what we begin to appreciate more and more is a reclaiming of the Filipino concept of kapwa, which is the shared self. I in relation to others, the union of I with others, is something that bridges the concept of I with your neighbor. It was 2005, and we were doing a theater workshop related to the issue of child trafficking. And we had young people from different situations, some coming from vulnerable situations of the shelter system, who have been sexually abused, some who are coming from church contexts. But in one of the activities, we asked them the question, what do you think renders young people vulnerable? In our language, what is the non-peace in your life? One of them went like this. Another one did this. And yet another one said, we invited them to talk about what those images were. This was about a young man who came from a barangay, a community that was known for drug trafficking. His own father has been arrested, but children were being used as runners, as couriers in the drug trade. He was running because, he said, I'm running away from a reality where many of my own peers are either in prison already at 16 or are dead because of the trafficking. This, an invitation to share the story, revealed that one of them, who was in the shelter system, had been in the shelter several times in her life. She was only 12 when we got to meet her. The first time was as a child of a battered mother who was escaping a very violent situation at home. But at the same time, the stepfather also began abusing her. So at night, it was always that she would be trying to, if she had a way, to close the door and just not face that. This is a story of a pastor's kid. Both parents were pastors. And in a dark era in the Philippines, in 2005, church workers, journalists, lawyers were being killed as extrajudicial killings because they stood in the position or interest of the poor and the oppressed. His parents were both working with rural farmers who were demanding for access to food security, but also land rights. And in 2005, both his parents had assassination attempts. The mother survived, the father didn't. But the perpetrator, whom they have identified, was still out. No justice has been served. So from this to this, they began to talk about why this problem seemed to be happening. They began to unravel and connect. They saw that their problem was connected. Poverty was connected to the drug trade. Poverty was also connected to the issue of the land rights. That the fear of the incest survivor is also the fear that is felt by a child whose parents have been gunned down. It is in the sharing of these stories that the kapwa begins to claim its role in the shaping of their identity. It is this identity that allowed them to create the vision of what they wanted. So with their bodies connected, as we had done in some of our classes, they began to create a vision of what ought to be. What is the future that as young people you want to be shaped in the future? So from here, to connecting these pieces of desired images began to become a collective vision for everyone. A starting point where they can now try to see the concrete steps that would take them from this to this. And that was also part of the defining of their kalayaan. Kalayaan, which is freedom. Kalayaan is something that we have been claiming and fighting for many, many centuries. Kalayaan is something that I personally felt when under the dictatorship and on my first rally as a college student. We were out there on the streets, I thought it was going to be an excursion. Yeah, it was my first time to be out in the streets, an activist demonstration. I was with my brother and my sister, so it was like a family picnic of sorts. It was raining, and then we made nothing out of that. And then suddenly, truncheon-wielding police, rows of them came and started truncheoning some of the folks, and then we all, it's like, what's happening? I didn't know what to do, but someone just pulled me out of that ruckus, and then we all went into a building soaking wet. I was looking for my brother. I was looking for my sister. Finally, I saw one of them, and we were like crying because we were in a state of shock. When suddenly someone from the corridors started out and belted into a song. Ibon mang may layang lumipad, kulungin mo at pumipiklas. A beautiful bird that roams freely on the sky. You trap it, you put it in a cage, and it will aspire to be free. Bayan pa kayang sakdal dilag, ang di magnasang makaalpas. What more of a beautiful country that once enslaved will want to be free? Pilipinas kong minumutya, pugad ng luha ko't dalita. Aking adhika, makita kang sakdalaya. My country, which is the cradle of my tears and my aspirations, I want to see it living in freedom. But it is a song that continued to reverberate through the martial law years. It is a song that we begin to find out was sang by our ancestors in the early 1900s, when in opposition to American colonial rule, hid the song as a love song. It is in a musical form called kundiman, which actually means kung hindi man, or if it were not. It talks about an unrequited love, a freedom that does not come into fruition because it's unrequited, a love for freedom. It is a song that continued to weave our sense of kasaysayan or history. And so when we look at the many unraveling of the cast in our lives, we begin to connect also some of our values that build our identities as peace builders. Kapayapaan, peace. I know each of us has a song of peace that shapes us. I know Al has one. And so, because you are my kapwa Filipino, I would like to put you on the spot, not quite, but invite Al, who we already heard was a great singer, aside from an outstanding teacher, to come and share a song of kapayapaan, of peace.
Let us spread the pollen of peace throughout our land. Let us spread the pollen of peace throughout our land. Let us spread the pollen of peace and let all wars cease. Let us spread the pollen of peace throughout our land. us spread the pollen of peace, and let all wars cease. Let us spread the pollen of peace throughout our land.
So in our search for peace and freedom, and katarungan, which is justice, it is again just bringing back the great sense of the ka, the outriggers that balance relationships, the outriggers that create the bridge between the I that is not separate from the other. And it is in that kapwa that brings us together, because someone familiar to you, Lederach, I'm sure, did say, in fact, that relationship is the basis of conflict, but also the solution. And reconciliation is when we begin to connect our now with our past, our kasaysayan, and offers a place or a space for grief, for truth-telling, and for the visions to come out. So that our collective visions of this, that, begin to take shape in a culture and in a space where we can be the kapwas for each other. Let us end this with